Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. The offseason is here, qualifying offers, gold on that glove, and we're going to circle up on all the managers we missed during the playoffs. Let's go! Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. Coming live from the DraftKings studio, myself, Jake R. Storielli, producing his butt off, big baby David Mendelson, and getting nasty in Calabasas. It's off-season ploof. Big Daddy Trev, how you doing, buddy? Look at us twinning it up today, huh?
You know what?
Yeah.
For a while, I was like, I look so much better than Jake in my beautiful red tie-dye JOMBOY sweatshirt that's available at our merch shop. Go ahead and check that out. But as you started talking and you got into like your hosting voice, I don't know, man, it did something to me. Like, you're looking good today.
That's it.
But it's off-season, Trev. I'm here. We're lit. Labor Pod is like baby steps into Labor Pod. Qualifying offers are kind of part of that. Managerial hiring is kind of part of that. And the Gold Glove thing is going to be fun. You know I love Gold Glove, so we'll talk about all this stuff. And it just feels good to be back in the booth with BBD, Jacob, the chat. We're just missing our guy James, who I think we should just shout out right now. James, King James, gave him and Katie gave birth to the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
John Baby O'Brien.
It must have been an accident or a glitch on your phone, but I do think at one point this weekend you texted me and said that you and baby James Douglas will fire me one day.
I look to plant early in that child's head that him and I will form an alliance to eventually one day fire you from this company.
So that's the exciting stuff for me. Got back from New Orleans, little 3-day festival. The city lived up to the billing, man. Part of me wishes I went there when I was a little younger. There's definitely a lot of the spots that I looked at and I was like, Poppy can't throw his nose in there anymore, but food is off the map. The music, just the vibes, a lot of weird, fun, nice people, which is basically my language. So had a good time down there, and then by the end of the trip, started getting the qualifying offer news coming in, and it was like baseball's kind of getting hot in the streets again.
I got a question for you. And
yes.
I think you're head of HR anyway, so this is...
Yes.
There's just baby fever in the air with John Baby coming. You go down, you take a trip. Are we going to be expecting a baby Jake in 9 months? Just seems like I want to be... I'm pretty good at predicting things. I don't know if you know that, but on November 8th, I just want to predict that we may see a baby in 9 months.
Okay. Well, Trev, it's funny you mentioned that. Trevor's predictions are brought to you by Dugout Mugs, and Black Friday has already started for them at Dugout Mugs. Use code JOMBOY, 30% off at dugoutmugs.com. There's almost 20,000 five-star reviews. So there's a baseball fan in your life. These are the perfect gift. It's code JOMBOY, dugoutmugs.com, 30% off. I'm going for my Rays mug. I'll be drinking the Rays Kool-Aid all off-season like I always am. Their Black Friday... Oh, if you could give us the pop, Ploof. Oh, you just balanced it so nice on your microphone with the knob shot there. But, Daddy. Dugoutmugs.com, code JOMBOY, 30% off. It is the perfect gift. You have to go check them out. This is their Black Friday deal, the perfect gift. And, Trev, the reason why I segued into that, I wasn't planning on it, but I do have something to show you. We got you a little something. If you want to talk and say something to the people, maybe your New Orleans experiences in the past or anything, I don't know.
I've never been to New Orleans, unfortunately. Although I do, my first fake ID was from Metairie, Louisiana, which is close to New Orleans. I will say that Vacation Jake, like Trip Jake, is one of my favorite Jakes. I just see you guys listening to strange music and dancing all the time, and there is something with my name on it. Okay.
I'm never shy to get weird. And speaking of, we have commemorated the Trevor Plouffe, the best prediction ever. Let's see. The plaque says, best prediction to ever be predicted. Winner, Trevor Plouffe. And on the bottom, it has the tweet there. So we're getting a little bit of a reflection here. That's probably the best angle at it. So yeah, Trev, we had to commemorate you. So, you just threw out another prediction, which I don't think is accurate. Well, I'll find out.
I don't think that one's going to win the next best prediction to ever be predicted award.
It honestly would. If it does happen.
This one comes true. You thought Braves in 6, we went nuts.
But, Trev, we did have to commemorate you being the best ever.
I really appreciate that. The only people I care about giving me a pat on the back are our fans and then the other people at JOMBOY Media.
So, happy for you. I mean, are you still feeling, is that wearing off at all? You kind of the last time we talked to you, you were still king of the world.
Yeah, what's funny now is every time I see somebody for the first time, they mention it, man. And like, I didn't bring it up to people, so they're seeing it on their own, which is kind of cool. Whether it's from Sports Center or whether it's wherever they get their news. I feel like it kind of for that night and maybe the next day was all over the place. So it's cool. A lot of people saw the video of the champagne, which was hilarious by our friend Nameless Jeff and my friend Kyle. So I'm not king of the world anymore. I had my few days and that was a lot of fun, but now I'm back to business, man.
We are. And you're right. It's a pre-labor pod. I think the most interesting conversation right now is the qualifying offer stuff. And Trevor, I'm sure we probably talked about it last year, but I'd love to get some more of the player mentality on it. I mean, it's such a range of guys this year, and we should lay it out. I know we have a lot of diehard baseball fans in here, but I'll lay it out the best I can in Jake words, and then you tighten up the screws, especially from the player's perspective. But qualifying offer, if you have no idea, is originally put in for teams that if you had one of your star players hitting free agency, you weren't going to be able to sign them. You could offer them that qualifying offer, and then if they got signed by another team, you got a compensatory draft pick. I got there. And yeah, it's kind of evolved a little bit. And it's really interesting with how money is valued and years are valued in baseball, that there's definitely a core group of guys that got offered it that are kind of the original qualifying offer intentions. And I like the way BBD phrased it. The original idea behind the qualifying offer was it to be declined.
It's designed to be declined.
Because, for a Carlos Correa, Freddie Freeman, Robbie Ray, these guys are hitting free agency and about to get massive paydays. So why would they accept a 1-year, $18.4 million offer? That $18.4 million comes from the aggregate, the average of the top 125 paid MLB players. But there's kind of the way the qualifying offer has evolved and how we look at it. It's kind of the new front office value prop. You could pay a guy. Teams care about years. So if you overpay a guy a couple million for 1 year, a lot of front offices view that as a win. That this year we actually got the most qualifying offers, and this was a King BBD note, since 2015, 2016. So coming off last year, in which BBD also noted, it was the low 6 qualifying offers. So there were 14 this year. And I don't know, Trev, I guess I teed it up like that. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we kind of get into the guys and some of their situations?
No, you crushed it. And I think what's really interesting to see is how teams view it, because they do view it differently and they approach it for different reasons or different ways for different reasons. Like, for instance, the Rockies, they have Trevor Story, they could have traded him and got some prospects back. But the prospect packages they were looking at, they said, you know what? I'd rather have a draft pick than the compensation packages that are being showcased to our organization. So, there's that aspect of it. The player aspect of it is, for a guy like Noah Syndergaard or Justin Verlander, do you take that 18.4 mil, which is a nice chunk of change, and reestablish some value because both those guys were hurt last year? So there's that aspect of it. And for teams like you're saying, the 1-year deal, I don't think if I'm a team, I'm offering pretty much every single person that's available and qualifies for a qualifying offer, even the cusp guys, because if they do accept, it's 1-year deal. And if you're offering them that and you've placed a value on them as a player, I think that that's not a bad deal for any side. So there's a lot of ways to approach it. There's some interesting names that got qualifying offer this year. Raisel Iglesias is probably one you'd circle because he's a reliever. And then also, Clayton Kershaw doesn't receive one. So I think we should probably
let me
go over the guys that got into it. But it's interesting. And I'm curious to see where this ends up in the next CBA. Are we going to completely get rid of it? I think that'll be a talking point for us, towards the middle of this offseason for sure.
Yeah, and I'll go through the names, and there are a couple other small details. You can only get offered the qualifying offer once because it can kind of restrict your free agency a little bit because teams do value those draft picks. And, if you're traded mid-season, you also can't be offered it. So the Anthony Rizzos, Javier Baez, Chris Bryant. So let's do the list of guys that were offered it, and we'll make some sense of it. And you already mentioned Raisel. See who else jumps out for you. So guys that received the qualifying offer: Marcus Semien, Carlos Correa, Freddie Freeman. That's kind of all the same conversation. Those guys are about to get big paydays. Castellanos turned down his option in his own contract and then gets the qualifying offer. Robbie Ray about to get a huge payday. Seager, Story. And I think maybe the next tier is where things start to get a little interesting. Erod got the qualifying offer. Brandon Belt, Chris Taylor, Raisel Iglesias, Michael Conforto, Noah Syndergaard, and Justin Verlander, which my brain's been spinning all morning, all weekend on that. I don't really know what to think, but Trev, you already mentioned Raisel. That one for me is kind of wild because when you mention the top 125 contracts in baseball and you get the average of them, I mean, how many of those are relievers? Is there 2? Is there 3? So for him, that very much seems like the Angels trying to hold on to any pitching they can, and I'm kind of happy for Raisel. It's tough to picture him turning that down. So I guess outside of him, because he's kind of not the sexiest player on the list, sorry, Angels fans, what else jumped out to you initially?
Well, I think, some of those names you mentioned, like Verlander and Raisel, I think it's more of a gamble for the team than anything else. Like, they're banking on a guy like Raisel saying, I can take this 18.4. That's what it is this year. It's different every year. I could take this for 1 year, or I can go say, let's capitalize on a really good year and let's go get more years and more guaranteed money. And the Angels are saying, if we get this guy back, okay, we can work with that. He's a really good pitcher. But they're probably banking on him saying, let's go get more guaranteed money, turns it down, then they get a pick. Same thing with Verlander. Verlander comes back to the Astros. Okay, great, man. Like, we can probably, if he's healthy, we can extract $18.4 million worth of value out of this guy, most likely. If he's any bit of what he has been. And if he doesn't take it and go somewhere else because he gets offered a 3-year deal, we get a draft pick. So I think a lot of times it is kind of a gamble that way, because they do very much value draft picks and the amounts of control and like the little amounts of money they have to spend on these guys.
Yeah, it's I guess where Verlander's making me spin is he's doing a workout today, so check your Twitter feed for that, and I'm sure we're gonna get some numbers, some mile per hours, and that's gonna be interesting for his free agency. For him,
I think we literally just got.
Oh, really?
It's John Morosi.
Is it Verlander you're saying?
Yeah, reached 95-96 in recent bullpen sessions. And he mentioned that Verlander said in the past he wants to pitch until age 45.
So, I mean, Corey Kluber, who was out for a couple seasons and not exactly the resume of Verlander and still not putting up the numbers on the gun, he got a 1 for 10, 1 for 11 last offseason, something like that. So, when you start to put it in the Verlander pot, now he's a couple years older, but he is of that special ilk, the Clemenses, the Nolan Ryans. Like, if Verlander wants to hang out on the mound till he's 44, teams will let him do it. So if he's putting that up on the gun, I don't know. I guess I was surprised by it, but I didn't actually think about it. Like, Justin Verlander's probably going to get, what, a 2 for 40? 2 for 4? I have no idea.
I think teams will be willing to take that chance if he continues to put up bullpen numbers like you just mentioned. And I mentioned that to C. Rose earlier today. I was saying it's different now. You could put a track ban on these guys or Rapsodo and really see what you got going on in these bullpen sessions, and then they could extrapolate those numbers and come up with a figure. And the scouting is just different now. You don't have to see him in games necessarily to think, okay, like he's back. So yeah, like, you know, that's kind of what they're definitely thinking with a Verlander, as a team's willing to take a 2-3 year chance on him.
Yeah. No,
boom, draft pick.
When you lay it all out there, it makes a lot of sense. Or even, you know, if Houston does end up re-signing him, although there were some rumors that things got a little weird there, but yeah, no, when you put it all on paper, it kind of makes sense. Let's Trev, let's scratch off the guys that are easy to scratch off and get to some of the fun conversations. Simeon, Correa, Freeman, there's kind of no discussion there, right? Those guys are about to get massive paydays. Robbie Ray just won the Cy Young, kind of hitting free agency at the perfect time. Castellanos mashed all year. He's a guy that's a perfect example. He wants years at this point. He's going to be 30.
He opted out of what?
He opted out of 2 for 32, so 16 per, I believe, is the number. You don't opt out of 16 per over 2 to take 1 for 18.5.
Yeah. So
that's an interesting one for me, because you have that guaranteed for Castellanos. Excuse me. I know he's already made good money in his career, but with the lingering CBA, it's like maybe they're talking behind the scenes saying we're going to get this done.
I just think for him, you know, this is his chance to get the 5-year and get it spread out. Like it might not be the 22 mil per year, but could he get, you know, 5 for 18, or who knows where the number's landing? I'm just throwing out guesses, but I've also been on a Nick Castellanos kick to the Marlins because he's actually a Marlins fan. And with the DH probably coming to the NL, you know, it probably makes more sense to get a long-term deal where he could spread out that money a little longer.
Well, he knows if we're playing baseball, he's going to beat 2 years 32.
Easily. So let's see. The other name's Corey Seager. He's going to get a massive contract. Pretty sure Story's going to get a big old bag.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. I guess where the line starts to get interesting, Chris Taylor, not really a conversation. That guy's going to get multi-year, probably closer to 20 than
this is his
people
chance
think.
to spread out a lot to get the most guaranteed money.
The only thing with Seager, not with Seager, excuse me, Taylor, is he has a draft pick,
right,
you know, assigned to him now. And like we saw with some guys like who had that, like a Mike Moustakas, you know, he got hurt. He turned down 18 million, ended up getting 6.
Right.
Having to prove himself all over again. Our team's willing to part with a draft pick and put out the money that he's looking for. I'm curious. That's that one I've kind of marked. I think obviously he deserves 3-4 year deal, but I don't think like the teams do. They really, really love those draft picks.
Yeah, I guess I'm not too worried about Taylor. I think he's timing it up pretty right, and even what Kike did this year, I think when push comes to shove for that 2nd or 3rd round pick that a team's going to have to give up, I think that'll be worthwhile in the front office's opinion. I guess where things start to get interesting, we talked Reisel. Let's do the Mets, guys.
Taylor's 31.
He's 31. He's timing it right, man, and he's got
timing it right.
he can play center, he can play third base, he can play any out. Like he's
2.7 WAR this year, 110 OPS plus, can play everywhere. It's interesting.
Big postseason.
There's a case for him to take that.
I think that would be a shocker because then you're taking a chance on hitting it as a 32-year-old, and if he has a down year, then you're doing flyers. I don't know, but this is where the qualifying offer leads to good conversation. Like, I don't know.
That would double his career earnings. He made $18 million up until this point.
And if he has a good year, that would be an interesting bet on yourself.
He'd still get like a solid contract. I'm sure he wouldn't be able to beat a total contract that he could get this year, but if he gets to a certain number next year, then it was worth it to take 18 this year.
I guess this is what I think for him. I'd be willing to say he's only worried about the total value now. This is his chance.
Yeah.
This is his chance to go get the deal. So even if he has to take a lower AAV, say he gets a 4-year or even a 3-year at 15 or a 3-year at 12, you're guaranteeing yourself 36 instead of 18.4. So I guess he's going to turn it down as long as teams are willing to go to a 3-year 40, 3-year 45 or something like that with him.
Yeah, I in my head, he's got good juice right now. He's what every team has on their wish list, a versatile, athletic guy.
Yeah.
Trev, I want to jump to Los Mets. Conforto and Syndergaard, two interesting cases of things and stuff. Michael Conforto, again, go check out his stat page. He's had a couple big old years. He's a guy that can rack up WAR. Corner outfield can be tricky, and he had a down year. So he gets offered 18.4. I've seen some rumors if he goes to free agency, the team's offering him over $100 million. Again, we're in rumor mill season, so it could be true, could not be. And then Syndergaard essentially didn't pitch. Has kind of that special arm talent that all teams are looking for. And he could kind of Strom in it, come back for 1 year and really build up his value. What are your early leans on those two?
I think Noah might take it and rebuild his value. Now, he's not a Boris guy. He's a CAA guy. When do they have to accept this by? Or
10 days? I think that's what we were told. Yeah, I think it's November 17th. Yeah.
It's so interesting in this year where the CBA is looming. I think he's...
It's tough.
It's tough because he could get a payday. Obviously, he could beat a qualifying offer, 18.4 guaranteed. But what he's going to say is, I can take that this year, rebuild my value, and then go with no pick attached to me, go with a new CBA. Everyone knows what's going to happen. Then I can really go break the bank. Whereas now, his value's probably at an all-time low for himself, right?
Yeah, kind of, right?
So, I mean, would a team offer him 4 years, 80 or something like that right now? And if you're Syndergaard, would you be like, screw that? I'm not a 4-year 80 guy. I'm a 7-year, 200 guy.
And that's the Syndergaard story, is that like if he comes back and he's Noah Syndergaard next year, looks good. I mean, I'll even put him on his career averages, which I think, he's a career 3.32 ERA, more than a strikeout per inning. If he has a season, how about this? Even in 2019, when he wasn't kind of being Thor, he had a 4.28 ERA, 197 innings. Like, if he does that next year, that still gets you a pretty big bag. Now, if he goes out and he does 25 starts to the tune of a 303, which was his 2018, you're starting to talk closer to 200 million than 100 million. So for him, the risk reward comes, I don't know, man.
I think he takes it and reestablishes his value. Because if you're really looking at his numbers, you have to go back to 2018 when he was dominant.
Right.
Didn't play it all in 2020. Didn't play it all in 2021. You're 2 years removed from really pitching. I know they can scout players by using the stuff I just talked about with Verlander, but I think in his instance, he takes the offer, has a good year, and becomes a free agent at 29, at 30, maybe go for a 5-year deal, more closer to like that 25 to 30 range. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's just, I think the other part of that bet that we haven't mentioned is, if he does take the 3-year, $20 million per offer this year, again, not sure what he would get. You're not in line for another big one. Then you're going to be 33 and who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? That's the game. So yeah, that's an interesting one. And then Conforto, man, I really don't have a read on it. I just looking at how teams are kind of valuing corner outfielders, for him to hit the market kind of at his all-time low just doesn't make a ton of sense for me. I'm not sure how teams would roll out the bag.
And if he has another big year this year, he'd get a chance at free agency again before 30. But corner outfielders have been squeezed the last few free agencies. CBA stuff, as well. Being locked in isn't a bad thing.
I don't know.
I think he goes out into the market and finds something.
Okay.
I think for a guy like him, he is going to want to go get the bag now, get the guaranteed money, call that, be secure, just go out and play. Pitchers, like Thor needs to really showcase his ability again. Conforto had one bad year. Like, teams are still banking on that track record. I think he'll still be able to demand, good money for him. And like the scale of what's good money for him and what he's going to get is closer than the scale of good money for Syndergaard and what he's going to get coming out right now. So I think this is a case almost like a Taylor where he's saying, like, screw it. Like, let me go get my 40 million, 50 million this year and go play.
And he still had basically an 800 OPS in the second half. He found it again by the end, I think. It's big August.
I mean, it's just, trying to paint the picture of what these guys have to go through and make their decisions on. Because, Michael Conforto from 2017 through 2020, 864 OPS guy. Solid defense. He's got a back-to-back years, 27, 28, 33 home runs, while playing, doing enough in a corner outfield to play out there, especially compared to some of the guys we've seen thrown out there. So that's an interesting one. I don't know. I don't know. I'm interested to see what comes out of there. And I think the final two guys we haven't really mentioned that stand out qualifying offer-wise, Brandon Belt and Erod. The Erod conversation's kind of interesting. He's racked up some WAR. Some of the analytical numbers like him more than what you'll see pure ERA, FIP, whether it comes to pitching at Fenway and, some of the defensive stuff behind him. The luck numbers were against him this year. He's a guy that racks up WAR when he's on the mound, and he is on the mound a lot as a 29-year-old lefty. I think some people were surprised to see that, but this is a guy that in the open market, teams are going to be fighting for. You're looking at 3 years, probably 18 plus, or hell, maybe 4. I don't know.
Yeah, this is another instance where I think the qualifying offer is a win-win for the Red Sox. He accepts it. You get him to come pitch for you in 2022. Right. You're happy. It's fine. Like, we're happy to reward a guy who's done so much for our organization. And it's 1 year. And then if he ends up walking, you get the draft pick. So it's no-brainer for the Red Sox. And I think for Erod, again, he's kind of at that point where he is going to go just get the most guaranteed money. Like, I don't think he accepts this. I think he goes out and gets the most guaranteed money right now.
I think so too. And he'll get a 3-4 year offer for good money.
Yeah, there's no need to go reestablish yourself, do anything like that. Like, go get the bag now, man.
Yeah. And then Brandon Belt, this one, I would ask Giants fans, a classic Talkin' Baseball line. You guys know your team better than me. I gave Belt a couple of awards this year because when you stack his numbers up against other first basemen, they play. He's going to be 34 next year. He's already 34. Giants missed him in the playoffs. That's one that makes me wonder because he has a chance. Being 34 could be his last opportunity to get a 2-3 year offer where the Giants, $18.4 million, that does speak to people. And he's always been a Giant, so you wonder what those conversations behind the scenes have been like. Like, that's one of those ones you could circle and say, they've definitely had a lot of conversations about this. So I had no clue where that ends up.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I always like to look at how much money guys have already made in their careers, because that definitely factors into the decision making. Brandon Belt's already made $87 million.
Whoops.
So, yeah, you want to obviously make as much money as you can. This is his last chance to grab some cash. But if you're happy in San Francisco and you want to be there again, another 18.4, you know what that gets you to? That 9-figure club. So I think he's going to weigh his happiness more than other guys would weigh their happiness. Other guys are going for that cash, dude. And Brandon Belt's already got the cash. So this is a little bit more interesting. Like, if he's happy in San Fran, maybe this is another thing that I don't know if this is allowed, but maybe in this situation, there's been some talk like, hey, I'm going to say no to this qualifying offer, but I'd like to be back in San Francisco.
No, that's...
You know what I mean?
A lot of fans like to fantasize those conversations, and they don't always happen. This is the clear case of, like, hey, if I'm going to hit free agency, and, a couple teams are probably going to offer me two for, I don't know, 38, something like, who knows, 3 for 40. If you guys match that, my math was just so bad there.
Nice.
I'm sure if he and the Giants can work out giving him maybe more years of security than another team might be willing to, especially at his position.
The DH is big, man, for a guy like that too.
That's true. If he that can save a guy's legs a little bit.
He's still good defensively, but if you're talking about multiple years,
you can get him a day every week.
Yeah.
And Trev, speaking of, I also want to talk about, there's a couple guys that didn't get the offer that are a big conversation here, and we'll get into Gold Gloves and the managers, but we're talking about guys making a bet on themselves, and I've been making some bets at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Won a little money in NOLA this weekend. Whoops, sorry about you. And what if I told you guys you could score some free bets, where you can bet on any NFL game this weekend at the DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL. If you bet on $1 either team to score, you'll win $100 in free bets. So that's kind of free money, people. Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet. DraftKings still has their huge daily fantasy sports contest, monster cash prizes, free shot at millions of dollars. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOMBOY. Bet $1 on either team to score, and you win $100 in free bets if they score. You score with promo code JOMBOY this week at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or PA only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Trev, you mentioned it. And my heart rate ticked up a little bit. I think one of the bigger news stories from yesterday, and man, this is kind of not deep cut baseball, but it really is. My Rockies, what is you doing, baby? Jon Gray doesn't get a qualifying offer. And that was kind of their whole story. Jon Gray is one of the rare pitchers that actually likes being a Colorado Rocky. They didn't trade him at the deadline, and the whole story that came out was, well, Jon Gray, even if he accepts the 1-year $18.4 million qualifying offer that maybe is a little over his annual, you get to keep a pitcher in Colorado. They don't extend the offer to him, and that leaves him with a group of 4 pitchers that were kind of the story yesterday. Carlos Rodon, who had a monster year for the White Sox, has some injury history, etc. Our guy Clayton Kershaw, the legend, he doesn't get the 1-year $18.4. And again, think think about that with all that conversation of years and value and what that means. And the other pitcher, Anthony DeSclafani, I think, some of that ties into what they did with Gossman last year, and they extended the qualifying offer. He accepted that, but that didn't happen. So of that kind of group of four, is Gray the story? Do you think Kershaw is up in the air? Or do we think, he's so linked to that organization they'll figure it out? Or what do you see there?
I don't want to spend too much on Gray just because it's the Rockies, and clearly they're just shedding all money. I mean, that's what they want to do. We can talk about how they probably should have traded him.
And he's been in trade rumors like 3 off seasons in a row, and every trade deadline they never did it, and aren't going to get a pick back for him now.
They're going to get nothing for him, and I don't know. We talked about him with Story. They decided that the draft pick was more important than prospects. I don't know what the hell they're thinking, Jake. I can't talk about the Rockies right now, man.
Yeah, there's a Hail Mary that they've been talking and they're going to figure it out. But if Jon Gray hits free agency, he's not going to return to Colorado. He's someone
who wants to be loyal to that organization, Jake.
Dude, Jon Gray kind of
Not even
did.
You want to be. Not even you want to be loyal to that organization. You're
like,
gone. You're a snake.
I'm a loyal fucking dog normally, but yeah, the Rocks hurt me deep inside. Dude, I don't know. It's just really disappointing. It's why. There's no rhyme or reason. It sucks for Rockies fans again, and just add it to the laundry list of like ways they've kind of screwed things up the past couple of years. So yeah, that's my Talking Rock segment.
Gosh.
DeSclafani, I mean, he'll get a little bit of a payday. That's a starting pitcher that throws innings, and he's been solid. Good for him. Probably better for him that the qualifying offer wouldn't be attached unless he accepted it, et cetera, et cetera. Rodon, I think that story somewhat makes sense. It's kind of the same as DeSclafani. He was really good this year. Best year of his career. Wore out a little down the stretch. Has some injury stuff in his past. It's kind of a good for him. He doesn't get the qualifying offer. Like, if there's a bidding war for Carlos Rodon, I think that bodes well for him, especially after this season. And then Kershaw, it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to believe Clayton Kershaw's not a Dodger until Clayton Kershaw's not a Dodger.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Like, people are thinking, and I don't want to put this out there, but it's already been said. They're saying maybe the Dodgers know something that we don't about his injury. He did get a PRP injection at the end of the year, and maybe they saw some stuff that they just were like, we don't know if this is going to work for us. It could be that they know that he wants to. I don't know, man. This is a weird one for me.
Yeah.
Could he have talked to them and said, we're going to sign back with you, whatever. And once you decide that, you don't need to offer him the qualifying offer. Let's just iron something else out. I don't know, man. It seems to me like he's got a few years left in him, right?
You'd like to think so.
If he ends up on the Rangers, I'm going to be so upset.
Easy.
You know how I feel about the Rangers. My Rangers are just...
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
No, that would...
I won't like it. I won't like it at all, Clayton.
Clayton he's 33 years old. He's going to be 34 for next baseball season, which shocks a lot of people because he's been in the spotlight since he was 20. And you wonder what's going on injury-wise there. I mean, a lot of his stats still check out this year. The ERA was a little high. You wonder where that body's at. I mean, he's got a lot of mileage, almost 2,500 major league innings. Teams track this, and there are a lot of stats and data that go with if you cross a certain threshold and your stuff starts doing this, that, and the other. I don't know. Both worlds make a lot of sense to me. If Clayton Kershaw walks away and goes somewhere else to do a little twilight of his career, it doesn't shock me at all. If these two teams come back and there's a 2-year with a player option or something like that, I also wouldn't be surprised in any way.
I mean, yeah, we talked about it. Like it could be they already have a deal in the works, so they don't need to set a deadline on it. You know, have the 10 days looming over it. It could have been like a pat on the butt out the door saying like we won't attach a draft pick to you because you've done so much for our organization. Like go get your money, dude. We don't know. We'll see.
Before injury started becoming a factor into this year, on July 3rd, he had an ERA in the 3.3s and a FIP in the 2s. Like he was good this year.
Yeah. So the injury stuff is really interesting. What does everyone know on that front? But yeah, and this again, the percentage of these situations where other stuff besides money matters. Clayton Kershaw was their first round pick in 2006. The guy's been with that organization for 15 years. Is that how the math works out there? Like, so that's when these situations sometimes get figured out a little easier. And hey, maybe Clayton Kershaw, again, these guys are athletes. Like, we're talking about Verlander and how he's still got some FU and he still wants to rack it up. Like, I bet Clayton Kershaw thinks he can still get a lot of big outs in Major League Baseball. And yeah, just not for Trev's Texas Rangers.
Just think about the amount of times throughout the year. I'm talking about to every single person and all the fan bases where you're like, we could use some starting pitching.
Yeah.
Like every single team says that every year. Starting pitchers are always going to be in high demand, especially someone that has a track record like Clayton. He puts butts in the seats. He can still get you outs. I mean, at a really good rate. Maybe not at an elite rate anymore, but at a really good rate. And those guys are always valuable. So Clayton's going to get paid somewhere. Just please don't be with the Rangers. I don't want to see another Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, Cole Hamels. Who else was there? Like, I don't want to see that.
Jordan Lyles with the nice free agent contract.
Oh, man.
At
least Gibby got out of there.
Yeah, I mean, Kershaw, it's so funny, the standard we hold him to. He had 14 starts of 6 innings plus this year. 6 innings.
He's a guy.
Think about what we saw. Like, so that's the qualifying offer roundup. It's a real big baseball conversation because you do end up going down these different avenues. 10 days we find out. I'm sure we'll start getting some news on it. Interested to see who taps in, taps out a little bit, and then we can really start mapping out the free agency because that affects the player pool a little bit. I mean, we're talking about if Noah Syndergaard and Justin Verlander accept qualifying offers, that changes the starting pitching free agency pool a lot. So we'll see how that sorts out. That was your. What do you got?
The Dodgers have to figure out like the Bauer situation. Obviously, he's not going to opt out of his deal. He's going to opt into his player option, and then they're going to have to see, are they going to have to pay for someone that's not pitching for them?
Right.
There's a chance he gets suspended. More than likely, he's going to get suspended for a certain amount of time. They won't have to pay that salary. But that's, without getting too far into it, that's a big thing for the Dodgers and the payroll and what they can go into free agency ready to spend. I mean, Friedman himself said it. Like, we got to see where we're at on that situation before we can fully determine how aggressive we're going to be in the free agent market. So,
right.
That's just another labor pod discussion.
If you're the Angels, if Reisel accepts that, does that change their pursuit of Robbie Ray and how many hundreds of millions they give him?
Well, then it becomes Syndergaard.
Yeah.
And then they go after Trevor Story.
So Trevor Story to the
$500 million deal.
Confirmed. Him and Rendon. Whoo, I'd watch. Trev, let's do the Gold Glove stuff kind of quickly because we talk about it on here. It's the award, I don't want to say it's been diluted a little bit, but, some of the factors between defensive analytics and who's voting, that, we don't always get the best of the best. It shouldn't be your all-knowing deciding award. The other side of that I do think is fine is your Gold Glove catcher in the National League this year is Jacob Stallings, 34 years old, kind of journeyman a little bit, gets a chance to play with Pittsburgh, and he's going to have a catching Gold Glove forever, which is really cool. The other big storyline in the National League is the Cardinals walk away with 5 Gold Gloves. Is that right? Goldschmidt, Edmund, Arenado,
O'Neill,
and Bader.
Yachty gets squeezed.
Yeah, so they're pretty close to 6. I don't know, Trev. When the Gold Gloves come out, what's your reaction?
I think it's cool. I love it for anybody that receives a Gold Glove. Like you said, you get to wear the gold on your wrist for the rest of your career. It's an amazing award, I think, and you can debate about the validity of it all you want. Apparently, this year the AL, the Fielding Bible Awards, which are analytically what people look to for defensive metrics, they all lined up with the AL picks that Rawlings gave out. So that's interesting. And there was a few discrepancies in the NL, but I think it's cool. I mean, Yuli winning a Gold Glove, I think is pretty cool. I read an article about him, and he was a shortstop for the Cuban national team, and there were a few guys that went to those Olympic Games. I think it was like 2004 or something like that, something ridiculous like that. And there was some travel restraints. There's only a few guys there scouting him. But now he's a Gold Glove first baseman. I think that's pretty cool. Chapman wins another one. I thought Arenado winning 9 straight is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's rarefied air. I think Ichiro won 10 in a row. That's the most to start a career. You're up there with the greats. Like, who has the most Gold Gloves? Like Willie Mays or something like that?
I think we looked this up the other day.
I'm Googling it.
Now I'm blanking on it. Isn't Maddox up there?
Maddox has a ton.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Maddox has 18.
It counts.
Maddox has 18. Brooks Robinson's up there all time.
Pudge has 13 as a catcher.
But no, I always kind of try to tell people there's this. So going back to my Rocks, finally, there's kind of this Rocky stigma. Like, we just don't think guys are as good as they are. And DJ LeMahieu kind of bucked that his first 2 years in New York. And there's all sorts of analytics and numbers on it now. Nolan Arenado's all time. Like, if he walked away now, he's still like kind of an all-time third baseman. And he's still got juice, man. He's still got a lot of juice. So appreciate Nolan Arenado. And yeah, I know.
Think about Arenado. I know we talk about this. The high school thing is, oversaturated between the Harvard Westlake guys and Chapman and Arenado. But just think about having 2 major league Gold Glovers at third base on your high school team, dude.
A lot of Jake Storielli's having bad days. Got robbed again.
This guy, he's pretty good. Oh yeah, he's a 9-time Gold Glove winner, and the guy that's playing behind him is probably better than him and will surpass it at some point.
It was basically by him. Correa, he gets the AL Gold Glove. When you start talking about his bag, man, I know.
It's nice to have that.
Doesn't hurt. Beats out our guy J.P. Crawford. Robbed. Yeah, I don't know. And hey, every team defends their guy to the grave, and that's obvious because you watch them play 160 times a year, and the other person watches their team play 160 times a year. Michael A. Taylor beats out Kiermaier, so, watch out, like Michael A. Taylor.
I like that it seems, I know we just talked about Nolan getting it every single year for the past 9 years, but it seems to me like now it's more open. It's a year-by-year thing. You go out and have a ball in a year, you could win it. Whereas before, it almost felt like you had the guys and they would just kind of win, and there was those guys.
Right.
It felt like there was a long time where you had to unseat the guy.
Yeah.
Jacob Stallings and Molina. That's
exactly.
They clearly were measuring other things than their careers there. Sean Murphy gets it in the AL. Our guy Max Fried, he might start racking him up. Watch out for him.
Spoiler alert, I talked to old Max.
Uh-oh.
He wants to come on.
Okay.
So we're going to have to figure that out.
Maybe Wednesday, pop in for a little bit. We'll see.
He's flying back to LA. We're going to have a talk.
Okay. Harry Bader, Benintendi, Tyler O'Neill. The funny one in Yankee land, Joey Gallo gets the right field Gold Glove. Yankee fans will fight to the death about how good Aaron Judge is as a right fielder. Gallo came over and was playing left. So, yeah, again, the system ain't perfect. Joey Gallo is also the Silver Slugger nominee at DH. So
There's
baseball's still figuring out the moving parts a little bit.
You've been talking a lot about multiple things can be true. The award's not perfect, but it's still like cool for the dudes that win.
Yeah. Matt Olson, robbed, always date my daughter. And hey, how about good for Marcus Semien? Like, he won the Gold Glove at second base. He went over to the Blue Jays, like, took a chance a little bit, and it paid off, like, in a monster way.
It did.
That's cool. That is the Gold Glove stuff. Trev, we're going to finish with your favorite. We're talking about the managers, babe. We mentioned them through the playoffs, some of the moves, and there's still a couple big spots open. I kind of forgot. And these spots are kind of roaming ready to be taken. You know, whether you're looking at the Mets job, I'm in the city. I don't know. I get boners sometimes. If you're struggling with your case of that, talk to Roman. They will get you linked up with one of their U.S. licensed healthcare professionals about ED. And if you're eligible, they'll get you $15 off your first month of treatment. GetRoman.com/talkin. GetRoman.com/talkin.
Hey, Jake.
Yes.
You know who confirmed was Roman ready at least one time in his
Okay.
life? James O'Brien.
James. From James to
He
James.
was Roman ready, and he created a James.
He really did. He literally did.
He literally created, him and Katie created a James because James, he's the second? Is James O'Brien
They don't
John Boy's
legally
dad,
speaking.
James?
Legally speaking, no, they're not the same middle name. So I don't think he can technically be junior, but we can call him junior.
Yeah,
that's fun.
We'll have some discussions about it. You know, James, he's got a game plan for his James, so we'll tiptoe the lines a little bit. I don't know what the plan is. Are they gonna both go Jimmy and Jimmy? Is our Jimmy making the plan to go full James? I don't know. We'll figure out all the logistics on that. But get Roman ready. GetRoman.com/talkin today. $15 off your first month of ED treatment. And be Roman ready. Have the confidence. GetRoman.com/talkin.
Why do we still have to tell people this?
I know.
If it ain't working, go fix it. It's not a big deal.
I mean, just getting it checked out, no harm.
If your car breaks down, what do you do? Walk the rest of your life, or are you going to fix your car?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Thank you.
Trev, speaking of fixing problems, the new managers and coaches, you know, we'll get through this. Let's do the layups. Astros, Dusty Baker, 1-year deal, sure. I saw some people mad about that, like Dusty deserved a longer contract. I'm assuming
He's old.
that he was in on that. Astros fans, you've tuned us out for a little while now, but let us know if that's wrong.
If Astros fans are listening, I was reading some articles that were like in the weeds stuff that if they didn't make the World Series, the owners might have been willing to get a young guy in there. That was one article I read. So
BBD read an article.
I'd be curious if Astros fans that like us and want to have a real conversation. Was that
Why don't
is that a
Astros
storyline?
fans want to listen to us? I don't understand that. I picked their
Well,
team
we
to go to
invented
the
a lot about
World
their team,
Series.
Trev.
The ones that like to think do like us.
We were like the program, the show that said, let's get over it. These guys are really good baseball players. We've been saying that.
We're an Astros pod. Adam
I'm sick
Duvall
of it.
got a Gold Glove, by the
Yes.
way. People were mad I didn't say that, and rightfully so. Adam Duvall, hot, old, thick.
Old thick.
Nailed that. Let's see. There's a lot of. Let's do the managers. There's some third base coaches and hitting coaches, including your guy Chris Valaika, Mortal Kombat Sleepover. Chris Valaika to the Guardians. Tim Hires is a name. Jeff Bannister to my D-backs. Chase Tingler to your Twins. But let's see. Boone's back in the Bronx. It's crazy that we kind of haven't talked about that here. Bob Melvin to the Padres. Oliver Marmol is the Cardinals head coach. I don't know, Trev. Like, what where does your brain jump? Like screw all managers, or do these feel impactful?
I don't know. What have we talked about Bomel to the Padres yet? I
Not,
don't know where we
not
talked.
fully. We haven't like fully flushed that out because it was playoffs, so like that took priority.
That's like probably my favorite move that's been made so far.
Yeah, Trev, tell us.
For that clubhouse.
You played for Bomel, super well respected in the Bay Area, super well respected in baseball. What is he gonna bring to the Padres? That we know there was a little bit of dysfunction there. The season fell apart a little bit. So what does he bring?
I think exactly what you said. He's so respected. So he goes into that clubhouse to a bunch of sharks, bro. That ain't an easy clubhouse to walk into. That's a bunch of rich ballers on that team. And you got to go manage those guys. You walk in there and yeah, you can earn respect. But not Bob Melvin. He doesn't have to earn respect. He's respected. He walks in there immediately. He's respected, and then he'll earn even more respect because he is a good communicator. And that's basically when you have a team full of guys like that, a veteran team. That's all they ask. Be honest with me. Talk to me. Bomel would tell me, "Look, man, I want to hit you here," but so he can communicate for sure. And I think that's exactly what. A team of that caliber with players like that, they need that more than anything. And yeah, that's probably my favorite move, but there are a ton, man. We could talk about Mortal Kombat, Christopher Lake a little bit, going to the Guardians. That's cool for him. Boone, tell me how you feel about that. I think that's a good move for them. Boone is not the problem, guys. It's an organizational thing that you always talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I guess the thing that was really interesting at the time was the Yankees had the easy out. Like his contract was up. They could have kind of shook hands and Boone could have went back in the booth or could have coached again. Credit to Boone, like he still very much wants to coach the New York Yankees, which is a damn grind. Like that dude could have a job at ESPN. He did. But he wants to coach the Yankees. They brought him back. And you're right, like, there was 2 or 3 times this year that you could point at Aaron Boone and say, like, why wasn't the infield in, or why'd you go to that reliever? So much of it is mapped out, and we'll see what other changes kind of happen in the Yankees front office. They changed his whole coaching staff around him. So, the guys that are actually in it, the hitting coach. Who else did they get, BBD?
Both base coaches.
Nevin's out.
Matt Blake stays.
Because the pitching was really good this year.
Pitching was really good.
So, yeah, I mean, it just seemed like, the Yankees, they just seem a little off, no? Like, the Yankees didn't really scare anyone this year, and this would have been the opportunity to kind of change the figurehead, which you're right. What does that actually change?
Because if Hal and Cashman are still there, right, that's not changing anything.
Right. It's just the voice that the players...
symbolic more than anything else.
Obviously, Hal's not going anywhere. But.
Yeah, it's just the voice that the players hear every day, which, I think to a degree has a little bit of an effect. But the players like Boone.
And when they got rid of Girardi, they said just like, hey, sometimes it's just like time, voices aren't sailing. I mean, Boone hasn't been there as long as Girardi was, and every indication is they like him. So it's not an exact thing. But
so... I talked to Dozier about this. And, Dozier's got his name out there for some jobs.
Rumor mill.
Interesting. We were talking about it, and I was like, Yanks, a lot of people in New York want Boone out of there. And he goes, who? And I started to think, who does want him out of there? And I'm like, oh, like the fans and people. And then I started to think, you're right. Like players like Boone a lot. Like, and that's kind of like a big deal. It's not like I get like the fans, they have a voice and they can voice their frustration, but like we're not, and I'm counting myself as a fan now, we're not in the clubhouse. Like we don't know the dynamic all the time. We see things from a different perspective, maybe a further perspective. So when he said that, he's like, yeah, everyone loves him in New York. I was like, you're right. Like I get fans are frustrated and sometimes that voice gets really loud, especially in New York. That voice can be very loud, and sometimes it does cause teams to make decisions. But I think they're fine with Boone and what he does, and they are going to have to adjust some things organizationally. And I think you put out a tweet about a team with a lot of guys that played a lot of games, right? Didn't you put that out there?
Tweet with a lot. Oh, I was talking about the Braves. Yeah, the Braves infield this year.
They played like almost every game, 155 and up.
Spring training through the playoffs, which, again, you have to be healthy, but they rolled them out there every day, which kind of every baseball team throughout time. I was going through the history of, guys playing pretty much every day. And, yeah, you kind of need that core that is out there. What the Braves' whole infield did this year was very special, kind of like an all-time infield, so you can't compare it to that. But you've said it. Jimmy and I leaned on you. The Yankees don't believe in consistency, which I think baseball is showing like you should.
I know as a player, you want to be out there every day, especially, there are times, and this is something that they probably should talk about, is they need to have those guys who they are deeming old enough to get days off to keep their bodies fresh. They need to rely on those guys to communicate and say, I need a day. And if you go to them and say, hey, Judgy, I'm thinking about giving you a day on Friday. And Judge is like, fuck no, don't give him a day on Friday.
Right.
Like, Judge should come to you and say, hey, man, feeling a little bit down, feeling a little bit sluggish. Like, give me a day. Like, there needs to be that form of communication, because you can't have set off days, because that might not coincide of when you need an off day. And I really don't like the off day headed into an off day, 2 off day thing. I don't like that.
Yeah,
that's something that they seem to really like to do.
They have rest philosophies that aren't necessarily proven, and I know there's a lot of ways to measure stuff, but Trev, you mentioned that conversation that needs to happen. Like, we've got some Yankees connection. It seems like that the communication in the organization isn't. I'll say it's not elite. If you measured organization over organization, I don't think the Yankees would land at a high level, and it's probably kind of like you said with Bomel walking into San Diego. Like, a lot of these guys are who they are. A lot of established dudes. I don't want to say don't have to take orders, but they're their own man, which, again, I'd say the example, if you're outside of Yankees world, Giancarlo Stanton, he didn't play left field or the outfield this year until when, BBD? August?
I think July 30th was his first game in the outfield in 2.5 years.
And so what were those conversations? Because my best guess, Giancarlo Stanton's a world-class athlete. My guess is he was willing to play the outfield, and the Yankees were so scared of him getting hurt that they didn't want to do that for 2/3 of the season. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to track next season to see if they change some of those philosophies. But either way, those philosophies don't come from Aaron Boone, because you're right, Trev. There's 2 groups you should care about if you're the manager. It's the front office and ownership, who really like Aaron Boone, and it's the players who really like Aaron Boone. And the players probably brings it back to St. Louis, where the bench coach Ali Marmol gets promoted to manager, that it seems like the players wanted him and not Schilt, and that's what they got.
Yeah, I don't really have too much inside info there. I texted Flaherty about Marmol, and he said, love him. So obviously that side of there is true. I don't have anybody telling me that Schilt wasn't wanted there. I think that was maybe more of a front office tiff between those 2 people, Schilt in the front office. Going back to like the players and like the leadership thing, I just want to make one more point. Molitor, when he came over and was our coach with the Twins, he had like a leadership council, if you will, like 6 or 7 guys, 5 or 6 guys, I forget what it was, veteran dudes who he trusted to make good decisions. He'd bring us in and talk to us about all sorts of things, whether it be the family trip, whether it be rest days, whether it be, what game of the doubleheader, what we should do in that regard. Like he ran a lot of decisions by us. And I think that was really cool. That's what you want as a player. Like, let me feel like I'm a part of this. Like, I paid my dues. you're a professional, especially when you're a big leaguer for some time. Like, you understand your body better than anybody. You understand the grind better than anybody. Like, you can't just go analytical. Like, you got to run it by the players. Like, in any other industry, like, think about that. Like, you're going over the people actually doing the thing and making decisions for them. Like, you probably should have some line of contact and a communication line with the people that are doing it, right?
Yeah.
You think that's makes sense. It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, it's just really funny. I think I had some good conversations with Peter Moylan about it, that, you know, there's organizations, like, there's proven things that kind of work. Like, the front office and the manager should work hand in hand, but the manager has to be allowed to manage, whether it's dealing with guys with injury or something on their mind, or, you know, moving them up and down the lineup to try to spark them. And, you know, the front office has really taken over that I think we're going to see that kind of balance back, just a little bit, because it's not reinventing anything. It's just feeling those real things out, the stories we don't know, that happen every day in the locker room.
Yeah. If put it this way, if you're a Bregman, okay, and you're hitting in a 3-hole, and you know you're struggling, and then one day you just show up and you're hitting in the 7th hole, that's not a good feeling. Now, same scenario, you're hitting in the 3-hole, Dusty walks up to you after the game and says, "Hey, man, this is what we're thinking. Tell me what you think about it. Take some pressure off you. We're going to put you down the 7-hole. We're going to get some guys in that 3-hole that are feeling really good, and we're going to get you going, and you'll be back in there. You get going, we'll put you back in there." Like, if you have that conversation, that's a completely different thing than just showing up and seeing you're in the 7th hole and then going and having a conversation. Like, there needs to be. It sounds so simple, and you're like, duh, like, why? Like, obviously that's the case. It just doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah,
only the good managers do that,
because they kind of have the power to. There's a lot of other smaller moves. I know Skip Schumacher returns to the Cardinals to be the bench coach for Oli Marmol. And a lot of your coaches have a lot of moves. I mean, I'm seeing the Twins, David Popkins, Dodgers minor league hitting coach, Phillies farm director. I mean, there's a lot moving here, guys, that I guess tell us what you think is truly impactful, because a lot of coaches moving around.
Can't possibly say everything.
And the two positions open, Trev, the Oakland A's and the New York Mets. Luis Rojas, former Mets manager, interviewed for Yankees bench coach, so that would be fun. And our Erica that helps us out says that would be uniting two of the great baseball families, because Luis Rojas is related to the Alus, so the Alus and the Boones and Yankees, that would be fun. I don't know. I mean, Mets, A's, do you have any leans? Do you care? Should we be hyping Daddy Dozier?
The Mets is fascinating to me. Seems like they haven't been able to get a lot of traction on their GM search. From all I'm reading, there's a lot of guys getting either denied permission to go speak to them by their team, or just saying, "Nah, we're withdrawing our name from that." So that's an interesting one to me, because that's how do you put it? I don't want to be too mean to them. It's a circus a little bit over there right now, which is very Mets. How did the Mets find themselves in that position so often? I don't understand.
Some say it's as Metsy as it gets.
Yeah. That one's funny. That'll be interesting to see who gets that job, because to me, I have no lean there whatsoever. The A's job, on the other hand, I don't know, man. I feel like if they make a play to go get Ron Washington, they can get Ron Washington. He's had a lot of success with, being there, helping guys out. He's got the respect of a lot of people in baseball. He's done it before. He's led teams to the World Series before. Seems like a pretty good fit.
For me, it's just tough to picture. And I see Oswald in the chat. A's are going to choose between Ryan Christensen or Mark Kotsay, without a doubt. We'll see. Could be a doubt. If I'm Ron Washington,
I love Mark Kotsay. Mark Kotsay's a good. He's been there for a long time, so it makes a lot of sense.
And that's the thing. They're going into rebuild mode. I don't think Ron Washington wants to take 4 years to get back. He's he's been good enough that he deserves the right opportunity. So I'm really interested to see with that. Yeah, I mean,
Kotze's great, by the way. If they give Kotze the job, which obviously he wants it because he's been, a bench coach and a third base coach or whatever for them for a while, he'd be really, really good.
Okay. I like that.
People really, really like him in Oakland.
Well, I've got two things for you now. We also missed this. Buster Posey retired.
We haven't talked about that?
No, man.
I guess you're right. Yeah,
it's been playoff
It's been a long
mode.
time.
So yeah, big catch-up episode. Buster Posey announces he's retiring. By the way, Chris Rose rotation today. Gabe Kapler, always all-time. We love Gabe. Buster steps away. I guess people inside the organization knew there was a chance for this. From the outside world, it was kind of shocking because he was so good this year. How's your 889 OPS from the catcher spot? MVP in the bag, 3-time World Series, 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. So yeah, Trev, I don't know if you want to do an ode to Buster, or were you in shock, or I don't know.
I'm kind of in shock because I wasn't privy to the information that he was thinking about this for a while. But Hall of Fame career. What else is there to be said? The guy's accomplished everything you can accomplish in the game, literally everything. So you turn down $22 million. That means you're pretty much set. Mentally, It seems like he was mentally and physically. I think he was kind of just done. And I talked about this a little bit with C Rose this morning. You talk to these guys. I mean, in my experience, it was Tomei, it was Mauer, it was Willingham, Torrey Hunter. I saw these guys at the end of their careers, and it's all said the exact same thing to me. It's just too much to get ready to play. They love playing, but like having to, work on your body for 2 hours to just go practice, it's daunting over a 162, and it's over 8 months of the year. And like, it's every single day you have to put that in. It's for a lot of these guys, it just becomes not worth it. I have to show up to the field even earlier. I have to stay at the field later because I'm fixing my body after the game. They're missing a lot of their kids' lives at this point. When you get to that 35-year-old, 33, 37, whatever year old age, like your kids are doing stuff if you have kids most likely. So like you're starting to weigh, like, what's more important to me? The guy's made $1 zillion in his career. He's accomplished everything. I think now seems to me like, listening to him talk, like he was just not willing to trade being home with the family for being at the field rehabbing every single day for 2 hours. So,
and man, I mean, just part of the Giants organization. Again, like Gabe Kapler talked about it with Rosie, and it's obviously very close to the situation. I'll tell you what, I don't think Posey is this type of guy, but man, if the Giants were in it next year and they needed a little help behind the dish midway, like sign me up for a little Roger Clemens, Buster Posey action. That would be cool. I think it'd be fun. That being said, they do have Joey Bart in the wings, which he's supposed to be kind of a dude.
I assume he's supposed to be the guy starting next year, right?
Yeah, so we'll see if they've passed the torch fully. And yeah, good for Buster Posey, man. You're right, turning down that kind of quiche. man, that means you don't want to play. Like,
it also means you've made a lot already in your career.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're turning down 22 mil, I mean, let's guess. Let's not even look.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know the contracts he signed. I don't, in my head, I have no clue, but I'm just going on like the kind of player he is.
Like $160.
He broke it in 2009.
He got at least one big deal.
I think he's over 200.
He could be.
I want to say he's like 220 or something.
I get nervous with the catchers. I don't know.
I'm going 220.
I think with walking away from 22, it looks like $150.
Oh wait, not even close, huh?
That feels wrong from the other contract. It's a weird website.
Let me look.
The full contract, that a big contract he got was an 8 for $159. So if he's walking away from the last year of it, I guess it does add up then.
Maybe 168.
168 is what he made.
Or is that what he walked away? Yeah. I mean,
Is that what he would have made if he stayed, or I don't know. Same neighborhood.
hey man, any athlete that can kind of walk away on top, I give them a ton of credit. He balled out this year, and yeah, what catchers go through.
It says it was a team option, or is it a mutual? Because it says on Baseball Reference a team option, but I've been hearing that he turned it down. So maybe the team told him they'd pick it up.
Maybe he was just retiring, and that's him turning it down. I don't know.
It looks like it was a club option.
Pretty not bad. Congrats to Buster Posey.
170 mil.
We'll see if we end up talking about him. Is he a booth guy? Do you really know him at all, or what's he about?
C. Rose said that he never even came on Intentional Talk, just not like that kind of guy. So this is what I envision for. Yeah, this is what I envision for old Buster.
Okay.
He'll be a special assistant to the GM. He'll have this statue. He'll get inducted into the Giants Hall of Fame. He'll get his freaking yellow jacket going to Cooperstown. And then, he'll just get to do whatever he wants, man. Guys like that, with the pedigree like that have stayed with an organization that long, could just be an ambassador.
Right.
So, and if he ends up moving back to, I think he's from Georgia, maybe he signs on with the Braves.
Whoa.
Becomes an ambassador for their team. You've seen guys do that.
Giants fans were just happy. We talked about Buster. Yeah, and the other thing that does tie into this, Buster Posey was involved in body armor, so he might have got a couple extra doll hairs through that. Yeah.
That just sold for $400 million or something.
5.6
billion, I mean.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my god.
So
good for, yeah.
That's
he already didn't need money.
When your body armor money might outweigh your baseball money.
That's awesome, bro. Hell yeah. I need some of that. Let's go.
Well, we are Crypto Pod.
JOMBOY Media. Jesus.
Trev, tremendous stuff. I guess, we'll be back Wednesday, talking baseball Wednesdays. We'll see what other news we have by then. Maybe we'll drum up something silly for the people. Remember our old midweek episodes coming up with a topic. Still got to do awards at some point, but we need JOMBOY for that. So we'll figure it all out for you guys Monday, Wednesdays around nooner, 12:30 maybe, Eastern. Trev, I guess the only thing going through my head right now, and this is kind of like it shouldn't be a rude question. Like, why does Dozier want to manage? Like, just general, just baseball guy needs to be in it again every day, or what?
I think so. He'll tell you that he's always wanted to, and he's known he's always wanted to. Yeah, I mean, I think he just wants to be around the game.
Okay. It's a fair answer.
It's interesting because I guess I haven't talked to him about it. I mean, I did. I don't know how much he wants me to share, but
you're good.
I don't know, if the minor league life, 2 or 3 years coaching A-ball is, gonna do it for him. I think he's gonna have to, be more of a straight to a bench coach, then go and put his name in the ring. I don't know.
Love Dozier.
He's very smart, learned from a lot of good people, so.
Yeah, and we, a couple things we kind of left out. I guess we can roll them into Wednesday. The Tucker Barnhart, our guy, was traded. Wade Miley was traded. So baseball finds a way to stay hot in the streets. 10 days until they have to make decisions on qualifying offers. I think after this, I'm going to map out what some of the upcoming episodes should look like. Everyone tweet your love to JOMBOY and John Baby, the Jimmies.
And Katie.
She did the work, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jimmy just sat there.
Probably
recorded it and broke it down or something.
Yeah, tweeting out field hockey highlights. All right, everybody. We love you. We'll see you back here Wednesday.
He's so strange. He likes the most obscure sports.
Sexual, dad strength, dad hot.